This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6 et sec. Notice having been published according to law with a copy on file in the city clerk's office and a copy posted on the bulletin board in City Hall. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act and recent regulations issued by the state of New Jersey, the following procedures will be in effect for public comment during this remote public meeting of the City Council. The public shall have an opportunity to comment during the designated public portion of this meeting. The time period for public comment is limited to 3 minutes for each speaker, and no person may address the council more than once, except for speaking during an advertised public hearing for an ordinance. At the time designated for public comment, the mayor or other presiding officer of the council will recognize one speaker at a time. That speaker must identify himself or herself by full name and whether or not he or she resides in Hackensack. No other member of the public is permitted to speak unless recognized by the presiding officer, and the other remote attendees may be muted during that time if necessary to eliminate background noise. Meeting attendees shall exhibit appropriate demeanor during this meeting as required by Section 37-15 of the City Code. In the event any member of the public becomes disruptive at any time, that individual may be muted by the presiding officer and will receive a warning that continued disruption may result in being prevented from speaking or removed from the meeting entirely. The Zoom meeting platform has a texting function. However, this is to be used only for the purpose of advising the city's IT staff of any technical concerns or issues. The public may also submit written public comments to be audibly read into the record by the city clerk during the public portion of the remote public meeting of the City Council. Comments can be submitted by regular mail or by email to asaby@hackensack.org. Comments received less than 5 hours before the start of a meeting may be carried to the next meeting. Any person who actually speaks during the public comment portion of a remote public meeting may not also have a comment read into the record. The city clerk will stop reading a written comment into the public record once it reaches its 3-minute limit. Duplicate written comments may be summarized and noted for the record in a consistent manner.
Okay.
Flag.
Would everybody please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United
States of
America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. All right, and with that, I'll turn it over to our city manager, Tom Freeman.
Good evening, everyone. First on the agenda tonight is actually a presentation from the Hackensack Environmental Commission in reference to pocket parks.
Okay, so who is going to be presenting from the Environmental Commission? Is it Pedro?
Hi, Mayor, Council, good evening. Gary Tuzano, Chairman of the Environmental Commission. Pedro Del Vecchio, our Vice Chair, is going to make the presentation on the pocket parks. But beforehand, I asked if I could just say a few words on behalf of what they've been doing on this subcommittee. And I'm pretty excited, and I think everybody in attendance tonight is going to be pretty excited on what we're going to show. And just to bring it up to speed for everybody, this is the first of the pocket parks, proposed pocket parks that we're looking to establish in the town, and we're looking at areas throughout the town as we go forward. Over the past 2 years or so, we had an idea to start looking at more green space, and we have several locations. But like I mentioned, tonight will be the first one that this subcommittee, who our Vice Chair Pedro Del Vecchio has chaired, with Secretary Louis DeCepola of the Environmental Commission, and a very special person and friend, Mr. Edward Lippener, who's a retired individual that's specialized and spent his whole career in land use planning. And he's a Hackensack resident as well. And we can't thank him enough for the amount of time he volunteered to be involved with this. The guy is very knowledgeable, had some great ideas, and I think you're going to see that as we go forward. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to my Vice Chair, Pedro Del Vecchio.
All right, thank you, Gary. I'm Pedro Del Vecchio, and I'm going to be doing this presentation, but I really do have to acknowledge that Louis DeCepola has led the charge on this. So I don't want to take more than my share of credit. So I'd like to share my slideshow here.
Okay.
All right, so is that all? You're seeing our pocket parks?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay. All right, so actually to start, I mean, really, we do already have some things that might be known as pocket parks, or at least have a similar function. So a pocket park is a small scale green space that improves the visual environment and creates safe places for passive recreation. Typically, public facilities are limited and they require minimal resources to establish and maintain. So some of the benefits are that people can gather right in their local neighborhood. They don't have to travel to the pocket park, and there can be wildlife, and the park can also filter the air and dampen some of the traffic noise. So the Hackensack Environmental Commission's mandate is to conduct research into the use and possible use of the open land areas of the city. And the city's master plan includes the goal to improve the quantity, quality, and availability of parks and open space, including active and passive recreational facilities, neighborhood parks, and environmentally sensitive areas. So to fill these goals, we've identified some undeveloped green space that would be ideal to transform into attractive pocket parks. So before we get into the proposal part, funding is always a question. So we want to just bring it up. We know that the Municipal Open Space, Recreation, and Historic Preservation Trust Fund was passed in 2018 and will be providing quite a bit of money to the city, and that those funds must be used for the acquisition of lands for recreation and conservation purposes, or the development of lands for recreation and conservation purposes, maintenance of land for the same, or historic preservation. So our proposal really will hit all of those at some point. Also, we were looking at the agreement with the Hackensack University Medical Center, Meridian, which is contributing more to the city budget. So just something to keep in mind. And then the most important part will be that the Environmental Commission intends to engage community groups and individuals in the development and maintenance of the parks through volunteering, through contributions. So many different ways. We've got a few ideas kicking around. So we're going to sort of look at this in phases. We hope it will be an ongoing project, but the first phase, we've selected a few properties that we think are ideal for this. Some of them, in fact, I think 3 of them are already on the 2020 Hackensack Open Space and Recreation Plan. So they've already been sort of identified as places to improve. So the first, these are the 4 spaces we're really taking a look at. Up in this number 1 is the Northern Heritage Gateway, and that is at the end of Route 4, the northern end of Route 4, the northern end of Main Street, right by Route 4. And the next one here is at the corner of American Legion Drive and Prospect Avenue, and is actually the railroad property. It's owned by New York Susquehanna and Western Railroad. The third one is a very small little spot. There's actually 2 little triangles there near Franklin Place, which is near Prospect and Hamilton. And finally, the South Lake Drive riparian corridor, which really would connect in with that Northern Heritage Gateway. All right, so as Gary mentioned, we've had a lot of help from a resident, Ed Lipner, who has some professional experience in this. So we focused quite a bit on the Northern Heritage Gateway. So here's obviously a bird's eye view of it, and the yellow triangle is the area we're looking at transforming. And there's some technical maps that we've included for your for you to look at later. So this site right now we know has Coles Brook running through it. This is actually a picture of Coles Brook. It's quite pretty once you're in a place where you can see it. So we would hope to highlight that a bit. And there's a guardrail keeping people out of the brook that we feel could be removed. And we have a few other ideas that we think would make it a really beautiful gateway to the city. This is the first thing anyone sees when they come off of Route 4. So additionally, we recognize that this is part of George Washington's retreat route from 1776. So it also has historical significance that we thought we could highlight with signage and some maybe art. So it's something that we'd like to include in the park. So here's what the park looks like now. And, you know, I'm going to give a shout out to the garden club who plants these pots to make it look nice. So this is what the area at the Northern Gateway looks like now. And this is just a concept of what it could look like. So coming off Route 4, I think this looks quite a bit nicer. And looking in the other direction, looking north toward Route 4. And that could be very nice with some benches in this area. And this area is up for some conversation because it would involve some highway input. But just as far as decoratively, it could be very nice. And looking southwards towards not Brook Street, what's the name?
Romaine.
Romaine, thank you. It could look something like this. And one last idea. These are all just ideas just to get your minds imagining as we are. So the second spot that we've really taken a good look at is the spot on American Legion and Prospect. And it's owned by the New York Susquehanna and Western Railway. We've been in communication with them and they support this type of project. And they just shared with us that there's a 75-foot right-of-way, and they just simply require a $2 million liability insurance policy on the property. So this site was identified as far back as the early 90s as an ideal track for a park. And it's right in the midst of all those high rises. It could be a really nice place for people to go and sit and read the paper and gather. So here's some conceptual designs for that area. At the corner there. And then the next property is a very small one. And there's already a bench there, you can see. But one of the things that drew us to this property and its partner, there's a partner triangle up ahead, is this is another historical site where the trolley apparently used to run through Hackensack. So we thought that might be something really nice to highlight. And this triangle here could be actually extended a bit, could be extended to include the whole of Franklin Place or just a little bit. So, you know, this picture down here in the lower right corner just shows a little extension of it, and then tying it into the smaller triangle up on Prospect Avenue. So that's a fairly simple project, depending on what we decide or what you all would like to see us do. Finally, this is South Lake Drive right along Coles Brook on the other side of Route 4. And this is a private property right now. This used to be, I guess, a Brisky Pond in there back in those trees. And because it's no longer a pond there, there's quite a bit of flooding that happens. And we just think that this is an ideal place to establish a conservation easement and possibly some benches and things just to enjoy the nature that's still there at the northern end of Hackensack. There's several other properties that we're looking at. I'm just going to go through them quickly just so you sort of see where our minds are going. Prospect and Kaplan. This is near the hospital. There's an empty lot there. Summit and Beach. This is a really attractive spot. It currently, I believe, belongs to Summit Manor. But it's a lovely little wooded area that possibly, depending on what they would be willing to do, could be turned into a little park. And then, of course, we have this park already on the corner of Railroad and Clay Street. And I know there's some plans for some development there. It would be a lovely spot to develop into a nice passive park. And this is a very small spot, but on Green and Lodi, another busy intersection, we could really highlight a pretty open space for people traveling through that neighborhood. So that's the summary of our thoughts on where we'd like to see this go. And we hope you'll give it some thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Pedro. It was a very good presentation.
Nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
And, you know, I've had my eye, you know, the islands, for instance, the city had actually had discussions about adopt an island. So we have a few islands like that throughout the city and do something just like what you just put out and showed us. And also that, especially that area up on, by the railroad tracks, it's just, you know, it's screaming out to be a park. And obviously at the gateway up at the north end, up at 1000 Main Street, that's a good location too. And like you said, that's the first thing people see when they get off Route 4 and come into the city. So first impression mean a lot. So I appreciate your presentation, and we're certainly, we'll discuss this and, you know, partnership with the Environmental Commission. So thank you for your presentation.
Great, thank you very much.
Mayor,
Anybody else?
if I may, for 1 minute, if I can jump back in, if it's okay.
Sure.
As we know, the American Legion Drive railroad property, the city maintains it for the railroad. We're constantly picking up the trash and we cut the grass. And it's an easy fix if we go ahead and do something like this for the neighborhood. And people go there already and they put out lawn chairs and sit in the sun. I think it'd be a great amenity for the Overlook and Prospect Avenue residents up there. Going back a little bit of history on that 1000 Main Street up at the end, over 20 years ago, and I don't really know how it happened, but there was actually a bank had a trailer there so people could go into the bank. That bank, I forget the name, but it's no longer, that firm no longer exists. So the Chief Freeman may remember that. I'm not sure, but
I do, but I don't remember the name of it either.
I don't know. But do you remember that trailer they had there?
Yep, I do.
Yeah, and that's why there's asphalt there. It was put in there for the bank business. So that would probably be one of the largest expense would be to remove that asphalt and then move forward. But if we can get people in the city to through private, developers or what have you to help out, it saves us a lot of money. And I think it's an easy go for a few benches and a few plants and such to put that in there. Yes, the area may flood, but if the benches are bolted down like we did on Main Street, they're not going to wash away. And if the county maintains the brook, it'll cut down considerably on the flooding. But anyway, I want to thank you very much for letting us make the presentation, and especially to my vice chair, Pedro Del Vecchio. She always does a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
I just have one quick question, Gary and Pedro. So did you say like your first project, you were hoping to do the 1000 Main Street? Or
yes, that's the one that we have the most developed. We've developed that the farthest.
Okay, so I think what would really be helpful is if you could get us as much information as you could on that project. Like exactly what you think you're going to need, if you have costs, any way, I don't know if you've looked into if there is any available grant money, but anything we could talk to our grant folks about and see if there was some way we could do that as well. I think all of it is, you did a great, a lot of effort went into picking these places, and you're absolutely right. There's no reason why they can't look a lot better than they look right now and be enjoyed by folks. So, it would be nice, again, we'll follow your lead in what you think is the low hanging fruit. What should we do first? Get that done, so, I would say, so help us make a decision, get us information, and we'll be happy to take a look at it.
Okay, great. We'll do that. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thanks.
Thanks, Pedro and Gary. Next up, we have a presentation from Carly O'Connell from Millennium in reference to Bergen County Open Space Grant for lightning detection.
Okay. Frank, can you unmute Ms. O'Connell?
Hi, good evening.
Hi,
my name is Carly O'Connell from Millennium Strategies. I'm a grant manager, handle Hackensack's grant applications. So I'll share my screen for a brief presentation. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
So I'm presenting about the Bergen County Open Space Municipal Park Improvement Program. It's a grant application that we're currently getting ready to submit soon. And it's something that the city applies for virtually every year. The purpose is to improve parks throughout the city, improve recreational opportunities for the residents. So this project is a lightning detection project. And just a brief overview first. The city of Hackensack is requesting a grant in the amount of $63,825 through the Bergen County Open Space Trust Fund for the installation of lightning detection systems within 5 city-owned parks. They are Palafy Park, otherwise known as Second Ward Park, Union Street Park, Baldwin Park, Carver Park, and Columbus Park. The detection systems will help the city ensure the safety of park visitors in the case of a lightning storm by sending a notification to police and fire dispatch, who will then send a patrol car or fire engine out to check on the people and property and respond appropriately.
Okay.
So just a little bit more about the project location. Again, 5 city parks. As you could see on the map, here we have Baldwin Park, Carver Park, Union Street Park, Palafy Park, and Columbus Park. They're pretty well spread out throughout the city. So, you know, as to benefit as many residents and park visitors as possible. So just a little bit about where the actual detection systems will be installed. They'll be installed in existing buildings within the parks. This here is marking where the detection system will be installed. And in addition to the detection systems, there'll be a bullhorn, which will alert park visitors to the actual lightning. So in addition to alerting park visitors, notice will also be sent to dispatch so they can come and check out the park and make sure that everyone and everything is okay. Here we have Carver Park, Union Street Park, Palafy Park, and Columbus Park. The scope of work at each of the 5 parks will be essentially the same. It includes site electrical improvements and conduit runs, lightning detection warning and paging system installation, telephone service connection, and detection and phone system installation, testing, and commissioning. Here's the engineer's cost estimate. The total estimated project cost is $153,180. Is broken up into each of the 5 parks, and each includes a 20% contingency, which I'll talk about in just a bit. So the city is requesting, again, $63,825 through the grant, and providing a match in the amount of $89,355. This includes 50% of the construction costs as well as the 20% contingency costs. So that's how that number was calculated there. And that's all I have, just a brief overview here. So I'll open it up. Any questions or comments? I'll try to answer questions about the grant as best as I can.
I got a question. How do you select the parts?
So that I will defer to the city of Hackensack. Not sure who wants to handle that question.
Because to me, Fushini Park is a park where the kids, they got aluminum bars in their hands. Something that is like a magnet to a lightning, right? So Fushini Park should be one of the parks that should have one of these devices. The other one would be Johnson Park for the amount of people that is in the park. Sometimes they are sitting on the bleachers, sometimes they are just be around the park. It's over sometimes a weekend, you got over 100, 150 people. So
I agree, Leo. The only thing I'm thinking is, does it have something to do with the open space and what parks it can apply to?
So that's the reason my question was how they select the park, because I would say Fushini Park will be number 1, because the moment that the kids are playing baseball and they got aluminum bats in their hands, the moment that they hear the siren, they should be throw the baseball to the ground and get out of there.
And I think one of the discussions we had previously was to find out if the park on the other side of the river where Pagoda is, if they had a lightning detection. So I think if they have one, then we wouldn't necessarily need one at Fushini or Johnson because of the proximity. So I'm guessing that they have one then. That's why we stayed away from Fushini and Johnson possibly.
Because sometimes even like you can connect, we got TNEC, sometimes the system, they work together.
Right. Right. And Pagoda, that park is right there. So I'm wondering if they have one, and that's why we stayed away from Johnson and Brashini.
I'll gladly look into this and follow up with you,
Yeah.
Councilman. This was put together a little bit before I got involved, so I'm not sure what the criteria was for choosing these parks. I'm sure there was some criteria that was used, whether it was funding available for certain types of parks and Green Acres funding versus non. So I'll gladly look into it and I'll get back to you on it.
Okay, thank you.
Also, I have a question on the, you mentioned a bullhorn. Decibel level, what, you know, some of these parks are located right in residential areas. I mean, is it a, you know, is it a very, very, very loud siren, or what is it like? Do we know?
Carla, are you familiar?
I don't have the details on that. I apologize.
It's a decent noise because I saw that in action in Overpeck Park.
Well, I've been on the golf course when it goes off, and I know if it, and they can go a while. And
yeah, some of the parks are very close to residential areas. I was picturing it more at Johnson and Frashini, like Leo, because of such, you know, the open space. You know, the fields is where you have to be concerned with lightning more, but I'm wondering again if it has something to do with Pagoda even having the system, or maybe because of, you know, what parks.
Let Mr. Freeman find out for us.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll get more information and it'll be provided.
Thank you, Carly.
Okay.
Thank
Mayor?
Thank
Mayor, you need
Thanks,
to
Carly.
open this up to the public for a public hearing on this.
Okay. So I need a motion to open to the public, please.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Okay. Anybody from the public who'd like to speak to this and this only? Please state your name to the clerk. Hearing no one from the public, motion to close to the public.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Moving
Thank
on.
you, Carly.
Thanks, Carly.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is a discussion in reference to the resolution authorizing the temporary extension to city park closing hours between May 31st and October 1st. It's basically just extending the hours of the parks. We will have hereby authorize extending Johnson Park's closing time from 9 p.m. until 11:30 p.m. between those dates, and authorizing other city parks shall be extended from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. during those same time frame from May 31st through October 1st. If anyone has any questions or concerns about that.
Well, we can always change it based on any issues that might arise, correct?
That's correct. And this is the same times we used last year.
Yep. Good idea.
Are we good to move on that, Debbie?
What was that?
Move forward?
Yes?
I don't. Next is upcoming summer events. So the city will host a series of 6 drive-in movie dates that we're in the process of securing for June, July, and August. These movies will take place in Frashini Park. Details for purchasing tickets will be posted to our website and the Hackensack webpage. Our summer concert series is back. We will be securing 5 to 6 summer concerts on the green. These will be on Tuesdays this summer, beginning mid-July. Details will be posted to our website. The Hackensack Gallery reopening. The Hackensack Gallery actually just opened up today. It's by appointment only on between Mondays and Fridays from 9 to 5. So the Hackensack Gallery is open. You just need to make an appointment. Yoga. We have secured 8 Mondays in July and August to host these yoga events. It will be a 2-session event since social distance circles will be used in the Atlantic Street Park. The flyers will be posted to our website with details. They're going with 2 sessions because of the social distancing and want to be able to accommodate everybody that would show up. And lastly, splash parks are scheduled to open for Memorial Day weekend. And then unfortunately, nope, lastly is the 4th of July event. Just to remind everyone, the 4th of July fireworks have been canceled.
Real quick, Tom, the summer concert series is going to be on the green. It's not going to be, because originally I thought it was going to be at Frashini for social distancing, but we're okay at the green.
Yes, that's
okay.
what I'm told. It's going to be on the green. Yes.
All right.
Tom, what are the hours for the splash park?
Hours for the splash park. Let me see if I have that. I'm not sure if that's in my packet. I would assume it's the same as last year, but I cannot confirm that. I will gladly look into it and report back. Yeah, I don't have that. Unless Debbie might know it, I'm not sure.
That no, I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
But we can find out.
Yep.
Okay, number 5.
Okay, I'm sorry. Number 5 is, this is basically a discussion, re-upping our contract, the 1-year contract with our risk management Otterstead Insurance Company. It's basically the same contract from last year, provides for the same 6% of the governing body's annual assessment as promulgated by the funds.
Okay.
Any questions or concerns?
Any questions, folks?
No.
Okay, number 6 is a discussion on the resolution Johnson Public Library construction grant. So the library, as everyone knows, is applying for a grant to make some major improvements in there. And this is, the city is partnering with them. And if anybody has any financial questions, Mr. Mangan is on the call, I know. Everybody's good with that?
Hey, Jim.
Jim.
Yeah.
This is a bond, correct?
Yes.
No. Right now, it's a grant application. Okay. Yeah, because there was the bond issue for library construction about 2 years ago. So
right.
What they'll do is they'll apply for the grant. When they get the grant, or when they find out what the grant is, we'll do a bond ordinance then. The bond ordinance will be for the total amount of the project. We'll issue debt net of the grant. And then what we'll do is the debt service portion of it, we'll work out a repayment schedule with the library.
Okay, is the library just relying on the grant plus the bond, or is there any surplus money going into this?
The library is going to be relying on the grant and their own money. They're going to be, we're going to be used to facilitate it, but right. No funds are going to be used.
Okay.
Chief, either you or Jim, just for the public's information, could you just give a brief rundown of what the construction project is? I think I'm pretty sure they're doing a really major overhaul, bathrooms, etc. But do either of you?
Yeah, I'll tell you the truth, Kathy. I haven't seen the plans. Stephanie, do you know anything more about the plans?
They're doing pretty much an overhaul of the entire building interior. Mm-hmm. And they're looking at bathrooms, some ADA accessibility. One of the rooms downstairs, the function rooms. I think they're reconfiguring the reference room into a more usable space as well. So all of those different upgrades, I think, are all part of the whole project.
Did they take in? I'm pretty sure this thing isn't Johnson Library on the historical registry.
Yeah,
sure. I think it might be, but I'm hoping that they went through all the proper channels before they start tearing that building apart, because there's certain things you're allowed to do and not do in a historical building. So we need to check on that, Tom.
I'll put it on my list right now.
Yep.
Yeah, the write-up that I have is from the architects, I guess. It says the complete renovation / alteration of library interiors, including alteration of the entrance, construction of new open stair between basement and first floor, new adults bathrooms, as well as miscellaneous exterior upgrades.
It doesn't sound like they're doing any structural work to me, except for the stairs.
Right. But I'll look into that.
Steph, I don't know if you could ask them, but one of my big things with the library is I was always hoping that they could take better advantage of their space outside. With the way the fence is, it's not very welcoming for people to sit outside or benches, to sit outside and enjoy the green space outside and, read a book or whatever they should do. Maybe if you could try and ask them, do they have they given any consideration making it more user-friendly and welcoming.
They actually have been discussing that, and they're trying to figure out a way to make it welcoming, but also, safe. I think, they were talking about taking the fence down, but going back and forth because they want to make sure.
Oh yeah, I would love that fence to be down. I think that's what makes it so foreboding.
And the outside of the building is beautiful. I mean,
absolutely.
So they, the upgrades outside wouldn't be changing what it looks like, just more repairs to make sure it's safe. I know that there was significant money, I think, spent on the bell, upstairs, and because it's so old, they had to do certain things to make sure it was kept.
Maybe you could connect them with Gary and Pedro and see, hey, let's do the environmental committee. Let's see if we can make that, something that's really lovely and inviting. It's just not inviting. Right. Now.
And I think they want to, they're anticipating with all the buildings on Main Street is, having more people use it and be excited to use that outside space and have, grab a coffee and sit there and, get a book and really enjoy the building. So I think that's the goal, is to make it, as accessible to as many people as possible.
Well, Gary and company, maybe you can get over to the next library board meeting and see if you can.
That's a good idea.
See if you could intervene a little and make it welcoming. And I mean, it's a lovely corner, and you don't even realize what's behind that fence. You really don't. Thanks.
Okay. And last on my list is just a discussion about the Bergen County ADA curb/ramp and road resurfacing shared service agreement. It's just formalizing the agreement with the county as we've done in the past for the ADA ramps and road resurfacing agreement.
Any questions on this? It's pretty much boilerplate what we do.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right.
That's all I have.
Tom, can I just jump in for 1 second? Just 2 quick points on the presentations from earlier. The Environmental Commission had said that the municipal open space levy was 1.3 million. Now the actual I wish it was, but the municipal open space levy is about 277,000 annually. Okay, not 1.3 million. And also, just so you know, on the lightning detection, Ted and I had actually talked about that, and we put money into the 2021 budget to install a lightning detection system in Fashini Park. Not so much Johnson Park, because there's going to be a lot going on with Johnson Park this year. Yeah, but we did set money aside for Fashini.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks. Okay, that's it. I need a motion to open to the public.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
Aye.
Councilmember Battaglia.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Anybody from the public who would like to speak, please give your name to the clerk, and you will have 3 minutes.
Richard Salkin, Hackensack. Congratulations. I was going to let this go for a while because I realize we're in posture of transition. But again, driving down Atlantic Street this evening, 5 o'clock, I suggest all of you take the time to do that. You'll understand what I'm talking about. Cars, not just, I ain't talking the bus. I realize that's probably a little bit longer term problem. But there are cars double parked, 5 o'clock. Obviously, your co-workers, John, are being picked up. It's a narrow street to begin with. Chief, there's no way you'd be able to get one of your emergency vehicles up that street. And the only thing I would suggest in the interim, can you task a police officer to drive through there with the bullhorn saying, move along, no park? It's a problem. I urge you to look at it now. That's an interim thing, but it's something you can do. That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Next person in the public, give your name to the clerk. Hearing none, motion to close to the public.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. We'll see everybody in about, 10 minutes?
Mayor, you have to close the meeting.
Motion to close the meeting.
We have to close the executive first.
Motion to close the executive session.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to close the cow.
One thing, just want to note for the record, as before, that we did have an executive session prior to this, and we did discuss 2 cases the cases were Tavera and Magby, both workers' compensation cases. So just want to put that on the record as per our usual practice. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, motion to close the COW meeting.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed?